Alright, in this video, I'm going to be breaking down Shelby Sapp's entire funnel and show you exactly how she's able to make $8 million a month, and we'll break down the math behind that later as well. What I want you to get from this video, if you're a coach, if you sell any type of info product, I want you to take specific things that you can go and implement into your own stuff, because she really got some genius stuff going on. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with her content, specifically organic. Now, I don't actually want to dive too deep into her organic traffic, although it's very big part of her success, and super important. But I want to keep this brief and really focus more on the back end. But what I'd say for her content is pretty much try to build a community. That's what she does. She builds this insane community of rich girlies, and she really does a good job of building a brand. Now, what is a brand? Brand is associations. So these are some of her. For yourself, pick what you want to be associated with, and yeah, just try to make those things appealing to your ideal client avatar. And yeah, then pretty much just record content around that, those associations, what you want to be associated with, and yeah, try to build almost like a cult, which is what she does really amazingly here. Now, she does have top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel content. She uses all these types of content, B-rolls, head talking videos, skits. She does a lot of education as well. Overall, just building a lot of trust in the space, and also a lot of authority within the girlies to actually trust her. So yeah, I don't want to dive too deep into her content, but this is what I'd say. Super brief. You can pause through this and then go through all this. But yeah, one more thing I'd say is her most of her content would act as top of funnel. Once the girlies follow her, then she has bottom of funnel, which is her story sequences, which is direct call to action to her funnel, which I will be breaking down in a second. And also her story sequences on inside of her highlights. I'd say that's somewhere between middle funnel, bottom funnel. They land on, they look at those, and yeah, all those are built to again force them into the funnel, and sell them on the mechanism herself, and also themselves, that they can do it. So student wins, that's themselves, that other girlies same as them are doing it. The mechanism, she talks about remote sales here, and herself, um, where she actually doesn't have any specific highlight for herself, but obviously if you look at her content, you obviously see she's got money, and with all her education content, you also know that she probably knows what she's talking about. So yeah, she's trying to sell these three things throughout her content. She's doing it with top funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel content. Her story sequences work very well to convert all the people that land and stumble across her content. So yeah, one more thing, what she does with the story sequences is she usually paints their current situation, what they're struggling with, what she was struggling with, and then she transitions slowly into where she's now, and how this class that she runs can really help them go from here to here, just like her. So let me actually get my pen. All right, there we go. So yeah, I'd say that's for the story sequences. Obviously, if you want, you can follow her directly and just look at her stuff. It really is very well done, everything. But yeah, I don't again want to dive too deep into that. So when it comes to her actual paid traffic, now I don't see that many people talking about her paid, but it is actually a big reason of her success and how she's able to pull those numbers. And as you can see here, this difference was, I think, like 2 days. So she literally added 40 ads in 2 days. So as you can see, she's running a lot of ads. Now, the thing about these is she's really doing a lot of stuff. It's not like I'm gonna tell you she does this one framework that she has. She literally has 10-minute ads. She has 30-second ads. She has 2-minute ads. She has 3-minute ads. It's really, she's got a lot of stuff going on. And if you want, actually, you can get this link, or just DM me, or just look it up yourself. But yeah, try to look at her ads. They are obviously very well written. Blake Rocha, that's her operator. He does a good job. And you'll take a look for yourself. But she does mainly broad and retargeting, since her audience is so strong. Retargeting is just an absolute no-brainer if you're in the similar situation. Run retargeting is going to be the easiest campaign that you'll ever launch, and yeah, the people are already warm, and yeah, they'll just let you slide with a lot more maybe mistakes or errors that you have in the funnel. So retargeting, start with those if you have a good audience. And yeah, so now here are some of her most common hooks that I've seen. If you're a girl in her late 20s and do not have $100,000 saved up, she's talking to a lot of girls probably, but she's also being very specific by saying late 20s. But what I've actually seen is she has an ad for late 30s as well. So she's really targeting a lot portion of the women, but she's always being specific with her hook, where the ideal person is gonna get hooked to that. Another one is here: if you already got the job, the degree, but, and she goes, this is the general framework. Now it's for most of her ads. Not all her ads are the same. Some are just pure education. But what I've seen the most is this. There's this hook or something like this. This one is for the nurses. She's got a lot of these for all the professions. I've seen teachers. I've seen dance instructors. I've seen models. I don't know, a lot of professions. She targets them. Again, she like targets a big chunk of women, but she with every single ad she targets just a group, which is very interesting. She pretty much, I think, she scoops like 99% of this market. So yeah, anyways, we're just sitting at your desk, again talking to her ideal avatar. This one was specifically aimed at corporate girls that some of them already maybe are at um, a sales job, but just a different um, industry where they have to do cold calls and stuff, and she goes very against that. But anyways, the framework is she hooks them up, then she usually goes into the dream outcome or the current situation, like where they currently at, and then she usually explains the model on how it changed her life, how it can change their life. And yeah, she goes to a call to action, which is the same funnel as she's doing with her organic content. So with her organic, actually, I skipped this. She uses ManyChat. She encourages people to comment under her posts. The keyword is sales, and once you comment that, you get an auto DM with this right here, where you click on this and you get sent to this landing page. Same thing with her ads. When you click learn more or learn more, you get redirected to this sales page. So what she runs is a webinar funnel, and for those of you who have seen some of my content, it is my favorite, absolute favorite funnel of all times, and she's absolutely crushing with them. So when you look at the sales page, it's nothing crazy. There's urgency of when the next class is. There's a call to action. This is the headline, telling them exactly what they'll learn. Here more specifically of what they'll learn. Now who this is for, who this is not for, and that's pretty much it. Shelby also has this about you page, or about me page, where she explains who she is and what she's done. Now what she doesn't have here, and I would actually add, or some people should have, are testimonials of either something like, look at what this class has done for other people, like people that attended got these results, or my students are getting these results, look what some of my students are saying, something like that. She doesn't do this because she already is spamming her case studies everywhere, and people know that she did get some results. But it wouldn't hurt if she added that, some testimonials. I think she does have a lot of testimonials on her VSL page, so I actually don't know why she didn't put them on the registration as well. Anyways, if you click on the button, it gets this pop-up shows up. You always put your name, email, phone number, and from there you get sent to her thank you page, which is actually super simple. Now if I was Shelby, I would actually add couple stuff too. So she just got quick 1 and a 27-second video, just basically saying like, congratulations, you've done a big step. Some people just scroll through this, but you actually took action. Makes the girlies feel good about themselves and encourages them to actually show up, to put it on their calendars. And yeah, that's pretty much all for this. Make sure to to check spam as well. And yeah, can't wait to see you. So I would actually add a a button with some type of community or group as well. It could be a Telegram group or a WhatsApp group, even a Facebook group, or just Instagram broadcast channel. And that way she can just add an um, extra channel for sending automations and increasing her show rate, which she doesn't do. And this is something that could really change the show rate a lot. And in the end, it would change the number a lot. So yeah, this is something she could easily add, and it's nothing crazy. You just add a little invite button for whatever community, and then you just spam case studies and reminder messages. Pretty much the same thing you would do with email and SMS, but inside a community. So yeah. When it comes to the actual emails, this is her first email. This is just an automated one, with the details and how you can add it to your calendar. She actually doesn't even have that button on her thank you page, which is, another thing I would add. She could add a simple button where they could click and, it would redirect them to Google Calendar directly. But, she does this through email. So, yeah, I'm sure, she's doing well, but she could add that. Anyways, after that, right after that, there's this you really did that. It's actually a pretty fucking big deal, and you're taking action. So again, she's making you feel good about this. And yeah, as you can see, she uses very specific language that absolutely resonates with her ICP, and it's the exact way she talks. So yeah, the copywriter did a very good job here. Now, after 7 minutes, she does, oh my god, wait. Now some girls that are not, very sophisticated might think like, oh, she's actually, she's emailing me. But yeah, like obviously it's automated, but some girlies might think it is not because she says, oh, I just realized I got excited my last email. I totally forgot to give you the actual webinar details. It feels like she's just writing this out and sending it, but obviously it's not the case. It's all automated. This happens when you get too hyped about helping new girlies level up. um, so what I wanted to say about this is, yeah, set alarms, don't forget it, covering exactly what you need. Oh, this is the very genius part. She says, hit reply and tell me what's the number one burning question you have about high ticket sales. So she does a lot of things with this actually. And um yes, she framed this as, I'm still putting final touches to the training. And I want, to make sure it's exactly what you need. So she makes it feel like they are, they can be a part of it and they'll get answers to exactly what questions they have. But, on the back end, now, number one, it is a great way to gain market research, to get potential objections, potential questions that people might have, so she can handle all that and implement it in the next webinar. I don't think she's actually making those tweaks. Her presentation is dialed in, so I don't think she is doing a lot of that. But what it does on the back end is it really increases the delivery rate of the emails, because when people interact with your emails, you're automatically out of the spam or whatever place you don't want to be in. And yeah, with that, the show rate is going to increase. If they are getting the emails, um yeah, if they are getting their emails, they're reading it, there's much more high chance of them actually showing up. So yeah, this is a really, really good question. Again, helps with market research and the delivery rate of the emails. Now, after 7 hours, there's another email. Now, this one is pretty much just, painting your current life, how it sucks, and showing how everything changes with showing up. Now, the one thing I wanted to say actually is, this entire funnel is pretty much just to sell the next step. So, over here, she just sells them to comment the keyword. Now over here, she sells them on clicking the button. Over here, she sells them on, clicking this button. Here to actually register. Now over here, she's just, selling the next step, which is showing up. And yeah, everything is just, to push them further down the funnel. Um, so next up, after 24 hours, she's got another email. Now this is on selling the model, actual high ticket sales. So that's 1/3 of the 3 sales we spoke about earlier. The model, herself, and themselves. Next up is an email to sell them on themselves. So here she talks about how your empathy, your intuition, your ability to actually care. Um, can turn into power. So she's selling them on why girls are better in sales, or why they're just made for it. So second sale themselves. Now after that, she's got 12 hours, 7 hours, 1 hour, 6 minutes, and 13 minutes after the actual um webinar for people that have maybe missed it. She hits them up with some scarcity, like, oh, I didn't see your name in it, hop in, you still got the chance, something like that. And lastly, she's got SMS as well. Throughout all this, she does SMS as well with simple reminders. Now to her actual presentation, I've only picked up a couple of the most important things she does. So first things first, she intros her backstory, which is her current situation, but probably the lead's current situation. How she spent money on a mentor, and basically she's just framing the people into what's about to come next. So she puts importance on why investing in a mentor was a great idea, how she was before. Makes them resonate, makes them be like, oh, I'm on the right spot. She was in the same position, now she's this girl boss, I want to be the same. And she also prehandles those objections that she might have gotten from the market research right here, and as well as just common questions and common objections she's got about high ticket sales. Now next up, there's the aha moment, which is a very important part in a webinar, which is the paradigm shift. Now what the paradigm shift is, basically a moment where if you ask yourself what is the one thing that the people need to realize to absolutely change the way they're thinking, and change their way of actually believing that they can do it, that's what this actually is. I don't know if I explained it correctly, but basically what she does is she shifted all their paradigms as high ticket sales is the route, it is the best route. And she does this by tying it into her own story, how she actually got to high ticket sales, how she was doing door to door, and then one guy introduced that to her, and she was like, oh wow, my whole mindset shift, or my whole paradigm shifted, and now I see this opportunity of high ticket sales. And yeah, that's what she does. And in the prospect's mind, it's like, oh, so she realized this, I'm realizing this now, it really must be the way. Yeah, I hope you guys got that. I know I did it a little, but yeah, have a paradigm shift in your webinar. It's very, very important step. Next up, she talks about the results. So, some of her testimonials. And also, she specifically talks about community, how, she's building this she sells movement. And if we look behind that, it's pretty much, she's selling them on herself, how, she went from current situation to her now. She's selling them on the model of, how high ticket sales is the way. And then she sells them on themselves by, talking about testimonials and how she's been able to help other people. So yeah, these are just ways to sell them on the same stuff. Now the next part is visualizing. So she does this exercise, which she tells everyone to close their eyes and visualize. So how this works is she told everyone to close their eyes. I actually was there and I tried it. And yeah, she was basically walking through how you wake up, how you look outside the window, there's this view of this beautiful beach, you turn to your side and you see that beautiful dream husband, you go to your table, you do your skincare, and she just like lays out every single step and makes the girlies see exactly what they want, the exact desired situation. And then after that, after they've ended their day with 2 hours of work and millions in the bank, there's the reality check of how they are living now, and how they can't expect a different result if they do the same thing. So she's planting the seeds of they really need to change. And she makes them really see exactly what they want, which is similar. If you've been in sales, this is what you do in sales calls. You really want the prospect to see exactly where they're going, what they want. And yeah, this is pretty much just one too many sales calls. So she does this as well here. Next up, which this would be like the first 30 minutes, which is pretty much just the framing of the webinar. Like there's not much sauce going on. But after that, there's the actual sauce. So how exactly does high ticket sales work? Now in her webinar, she actually does not teach that much about high ticket sales. Like she does not go over a script of how to close, of how to land an offer. but she speaks more about like how it all works and how they can do it, and she really ties it all to her pitch, which actually like a lot of webinars are more educational. But I think since most of the people that are coming to her, their sophistication level is not really high. They're not there to get specific sauce on like sales and sales tactics and exactly how they can do it. It's more so girls that are completely new to the space. They have no idea what high ticket sales is. She just explains how it all works and how they can make 10K a month with 2 hours a day on a laptop. So that's again the model on the back end. But this would be usually around 30 minutes of the actual sauce, the 1, 2, 3, 4 step of getting to a dream outcome. Now, next up, she talks about benefits of high ticket sales. Again, models. Remember the dream car? Mine was the pink Porsche. Yeah. So after this, after she explains how everything works, she now gets into transitioning into the pitch, and she gives you the crossroads where, this is typical for a webinar. She paints the way of doing this all by yourself. It's slower, it's harder. You're much more unlikely to succeed. It is possible, but a lot harder. Now on the other hand, you can take the fast route, which is her program. So what if I knew there was a better way? I spent 12 months developing the She Sells Academy training program, with one goal: dominate the high ticket sales in the industry with my girls. So yeah, here she goes into the pitch of what they would be getting inside her program, um, and she has this very interesting slide, which she's very leaning on that it is a sales call. So first things first, I want to say it's not a direct to checkout. There's two ways you can run webinars. It's direct to checkout, so straight to a payment link, or to book a call, which is what she does here. And on the sales call you would sell a high ticket offer. Now what she does here is she is telling them, she's got this really like nice angle that she could use on why this is not a checkout page or why it is a call. She frames themselves as the ones that are deciding if you're a good fit. And it's and like this is not just a course. You don't just buy this. It's not just one fit for all. It's actually custom planned and made for each and every single person, because every person's path is different, and they need to know if this is the right route for them. So she just frames the call very well, as it's not a sales call. It's a call to actually see if this is the right route for you. But in my opinion, it's literally just because booking a call is a better model and you make more money than selling directly on a webinar, which is actually what she used to do before. I think she was selling a 3K offer directly on the webinar. But yeah, she transitioned to this, and she got this beautiful analogy now where it's yeah, you just have a lot more leverage when it's not a sales call, but it's a call where we'll see if you're a good fit. Now, next up, she explained what the call is gonna be about. So again, giving them the custom plan, honest guidance. No games, no gimmicks, and all questions answered, and personalized plan based on your goals. Which yeah, the program I'm pretty sure is the exact same, but yeah, she does this very well with this type of framing. Now, next up, she sets more expectations for the call. So, your advisor will help you tailor your custom mentorship plus enrollment path. So here I'd say it's only, the payment options, the payment plans. And I don't remember what this was, but yeah, she just sets expectations for the call on, how it's not a sales call, but it's a, call to help you out. Now, if they click and, click the call to action, the book call in the chat, they get sent to the application form where they apply for the coaching. Again, this is good for qualifying the actual lead, so she doesn't just let everybody on the call on the calendar to waste the closer's time. But it's also a way to show them like, oh, okay, so I gotta actually apply and be qualified to get into this. So it's not just one cookie cutter solution for everyone. But the main important questions about this entire form are these questions. Are you open to investing? Yes, no. Based on that, you either get into the next steps. So if you're not qualified, or if you say no here, you get sent to the thanks for applying, and you'll have a setter probably reach out to you, and you'll be sent emails to again go and book a call, maybe requalify. But yeah, most importantly, you'll have setters dialing you and just seeing why you said this, if it was a mistake, and try to qualify. If you're a good fit, they would get you back on the calendar. Now, they'll call you up, they'll send you voice notes, they'll send you text messages. If you are qualified and you say you do have $5,000 to invest in yourself, say looks like it would be a great fit. Now they think it's because of all the other questions that they've answered, but in reality, it's really just this one question that determines whether they're a good fit or not. So yeah, after the application form, they get on the calendar to book a call. So now I don't know if she actually does this, but the one thing that she could add is lead scoring. So pretty much based on the application form and what answers they give, she could actually prioritize the better closers calendars and the earlier times for them. Meaning if a lead is very high qualified, they're gonna be sent to a good closer for an early time. If the lead is, a little bit worse, they get sent to, maybe a couple days afterwards, for a later date, and, maybe with a closer with worse close rate as well. That way, you can really prioritize the stars and, get money in quickly. Now, she runs a sales program, so she probably has a lot of closers, so I don't think, she has to really spread out the calendar that much. Here, as you can see here, we only have 3 days open to book. So now, next up, obviously after the book call, she's got, the nurture sequence, the triage call, just basic stuff that you would do with a VSL call funnel as well. And yeah, after the sales call, she would enroll you. So yeah, this is pretty much the entire funnel and exactly, how she uses a webinar funnel, how she uses ads, how she uses her brand to literally make shit ton of money. Now, how I actually got to this number. So I actually heard about this number, and at first I was like, this is crazy. Like, is she really making this much? Um, wait, I gotta exit the, or can I type here? I don't know. I don't think so. So at first I thought, this is absolutely crazy number, and how is she able to do that? But now that I think about it, it's 8 mil a month, which means 2 mil per webinar, so per week. Um, and her program is probably 5K, as we've seen from the application form. So that means 5K um, divided by 2 mil, 400 enrollments. So yeah, this is actually the amount of people that she needs to close every single week. Now, um, now, on average, the close rate from webinars, since they are very well framed throughout all this, it's not like a VSL call funnel where they, just only watch a couple minutes. It's, they went through all this, 1 hour, 30 minutes presentation. They are a lot more nurtured and, a lot warmer than if they were just from a VSL call funnel. So usually a close rate on a webinar funnel is much, much higher. So I would even say, because her audience is like really really engaged and the girls really really love her, she does a great job. I would even say her close rate on these deals could be 50% from the calls booked, since she also has a great way of qualifying. And yeah, I really feel like she just has almost no competition in her space, so she really is just absolutely crushing it with all this. So yeah, let's say she closes 50%, that means she needed to book 800 calls. Now, the usual booking rate is around 10 to 20%. So for Shelby, I'd say even she would aim for the higher numbers. So let's say it's 20%, which means for the pitch of how many people actually listen to her, she would need to have 800 calls times 5, which is 100%, which is what, 4,000 um 4,000 members or registrants on the actual webinar when she pitches. Let's say her retention rate was 80%, meaning from the people that have actually joined, how many people actually stayed. That means extra 20%. So meaning the total number of the people that have showed up has to be 4,800 people. Let's just say 5,000. So 5,000 people showed up to the webinar. She does both organic and paid. So for organic, the usual show up rate is 50%. For cold is, a little lower, maybe 30. So let's just go for the, middle, which is, let's say her show up rate was 40%, which means she needs 12,500 registrants on her webinar in order to do all this. So yeah, do you think she could actually get 12,500 people register for her webinar? See her audience size and she all the ads that she's running. I'd say so. So yeah, that's how I got that she probably does make something around 8 mil a month, which again is absolutely crazy, and she's crushed it. But yeah, this is pretty much it. So yeah, I hope you guys got some insane value out of this. If you already are running a webinar funnel, take all this stuff, implement it in your own. She does have some good stuff going on here, some stuff that I would add. But yeah, if you are not running a webinar yet and you do have a decent sized audience, webinars is, as you can see, it's a great model to run, especially if you only are running a VSL call funnel now. A webinar is actually a perfect cleanup mechanism. So meaning all the leads that have not closed, all the leads that have shown interest but have not booked a call, that have opted in but not booked a call, they're just not ready to hop on a sales call. This is just a perfect way to get the opportunity to actually sell to them again. Now, if you're a coach and you obviously don't want to do all this on your own, I actually do this. I do specifically webinar funnels. These are some of my results. And if you're a good fit, I would guarantee you that we could add 50K minimum to your top line in 30 days, or you don't pay. We work on rev share. But yeah, I would pretty much implement the entire funnel into your business and run it completely done for you. And yeah, take a small cut from that. But yeah, anyways, if you're interested in that, I'll leave some of my links in the description. You can message me on IG or book call directly with me. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.